Oh, that's real good.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the 11Eleven podcast, where we discuss everything relating to entrepreneurship and the culture. My name is Matthew.
I'm Simone.
And I'm Donnie.
And we are the T10 Collective. And we're here for another exciting episode with our friend and inspiration, Lisette. Lisette, I'm so excited to have this conversation. There's so many things that are after your name because you are so dope, but I want you to give everyone an introduction to who you are, and then we'll go in from there.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you all. And thank you for inviting me to your podcast. I'm Lisette Scott. As you guys know, we're all friends. But for the viewers, I am a jewelry designer and owner of JAM+RICO. It's a fashion jewelry line inspired by the Caribbean. And I'm happy to be here to share about my brand and my story.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And something you talked about was it's inspired by the Caribbean. So talk a little bit more about that, because I think JAM+RICO, I don't think sometimes people get it when they see it, but then when you say it, they're like, oh, I see it now. So talk about that.
Yes. So when starting my own brand, I wanted to do something that was close to my heart, something that was fun. Some people are like, okay, I'm going to go into something that they're passionate about. And I'm passionate about traveling. And my culture. So I decided to create a brand that included both. So I could travel, design, create, and enjoy going to the Caribbean. So my background is Jamaican and Puerto Rican. My mom comes from Puerto Rico. My dad's Jamaican. And I thought, why not celebrate both sides of me and create a brand that celebrates the islands, the Caribbean, and my culture. And we go once a year to a different Caribbean island and create our collections based on our trips and travels there.
Love it. Love it. The line, y'all, is bomb. Now, I did my share of research, and it's definitely giving vacation, ready to go, like you said, to the Caribbean, lay out in the sun. Where did your inspiration come from? I know from traveling, but really figuring out, okay, I want to be a jewelry designer. Where did that piece come from?
Well, I always kind of think back because I worked in the fashion industry for 8 years designing apparel. And I'm always like, so, why didn't I take that step to start my own brand in that industry? And I kind of think back to my childhood, and I always loved jewelry. I always loved jewelry design. Going back to just digging into my mom's jewelry box, and
Oh,
she
that was
had
me
like
too.
80s, like big chunky jewelry.
Yes.
So it was always like fun fashion jewelry. Like I always thought it was like a treasure trove, and always found my little fingers in there. So it kind of all started with that. And growing up in Brooklyn and not having the opportunity to really shop and buy jewelry and, having that love for it, my mom was like, well, you better go and make your own, like figure out how you can do it yourself. And a family friend, she had opened her own jewelry shop in Brooklyn. And I just thought it was the most amazing thing. Like, if she could do something like that, why couldn't I? Why couldn't I have my own space and do my own thing? So I started playing with different pieces, and I took a wire wrapping class and fell in love with it. Growing up, it wasn't like, you're going to be a jewelry designer, like that's your profession. I grew up in a family of a lot of teachers. So that was kind of the path that was set for me. Like, you're going to be a principal, like go to school for that. And that wasn't necessarily in my heart. So
Was it
when
hard to break
applying
it
for
to him?
school, yeah. I mean, I went to college for education. And
Wow.
the second day, um, I was in a class for teaching math, like a class to how to teach students math. And I stood in that class and I said, this is not for me. This is not where my heart is. I was like, I can't do
On the
this.
second day.
On the second day, I was like,
Yeah.
I'm not teaching anybody math, y'all.
Nothing,
So
nothing.
I went to the fashion department. I was like, please let me in. I said, I can't do it. I called my parents. I'm like, fashion is where it's at. Luckily, they had a program at my university, and I took the 4 years and studied and focused on that. But when I graduated, I said, okay, what am I going to do? I did worked for 8 years in fashion, and then the love of jewelry kept creeping in and saying,
Mhm.
like, what about me? So I decided to make a career out of it.
That's dope. I see a lot of parallels because I come from a family of educators too, Caribbean as well. So I understand kind of that pressure, and you're going to do something very
Yeah.
traditional. What do you think was that driving force that made you take that leap? Was it just the class? Was it the inspiration? Because what kind of fueled you to say, I'm going to take this leap to actually follow my passion?
It was, I guess, just a little voice that was
Yeah.
in the back of my head, like always, in that class or in applying for college and in figuring out what you want to do. There was always there was not necessarily an inspiration, but there was always someone like, wow, you're like a really good drawer, or wow, you have a talent or a knack for that. Like teachers or people in my life that were, paid attention to that side, the creative side of me. And it always was something that I was like, like, what if? Or like, I didn't want to have that thought in my head while
Mhm.
Yeah.
going through school or going through my career. Like, what if I took that leap? Or what if I did that? And I guess that fear wasn't necessarily a thought. It was like, if I don't find out, I'll never know. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And kudos to you for that because a lot of people get so comfortable and are so
Yeah.
scared of like
yes.
disappointing their families
Hmm.
or just taking that leap in general. So,
Thank you.
That's
Thank
Yeah.
you.
amazing. And for those at home that obviously won't know this, but we go way back with Lisette. Like Lisette is the homie, the friend, but also someone that has been. We were talking about it offset. She's always been an advocate for whatever endeavor we were going through. But because of that, we've seen Lisette through all of the evolutions of
yes.
who she is to now. She's a mom of 3 amazing kids, and I know
Yes.
she's gonna talk more about that. But to be able to go back to that point where we know you were dabbling in jewelry, but it
yes.
wasn't something that you were doing full time for a while. So talk a little bit about that, where like you knew that it was something that you were passionate about. You obviously were always stylish, but to be able to say like, you know what, I could turn this into a business because we saw it happening around you. But to what was that mindset? What was that moment for you?
I always like think about the careers and the career path that I had. So I always had someone that was a woman that I worked for that had done it.
Mm.
Oh,
Mhm.
I worked in different fields. Like I worked at a pottery shop. It was a woman-owned business. I worked at a apparel store, a woman-owned business. So a bridal shop, a woman-owned business. So I always had, I don't know, every boss that I had was female and they owned their business and they took it to the next
Wow.
level.
So
So I always had that inspiration or that person that I could look to saying like, wow, they did it. They had a dream or they had a passion and they're succeeding. And to this day, those businesses still exist. So I think having that like background of information, plethora of knowledge, like having that inspiration from them to see like they could have that as their career and they're doing it always fueled me to keep going and always fueled me to say like that's something I could do too. I would say I like you said I did work full time for a very long time and had my jewelry business and like had other jobs on the side. Like I've always had that hustle,
because you're Jamaican.
energy,
Yeah.
that spirit of like, okay, like what are you working on?
Yeah.
Right.
But I would say it really pivoted during the pandemic.
Mm.
I was just telling someone the story that I had on my calendar like months before the pandemic that I was going to quit my job. And I kept putting it on there and I'm like, okay, maybe not this month, like maybe not this week. Like
Yeah.
I just, it was just the fear of saying, okay, I'm going to take this leap and do it full time. But like orders were coming in, more opportunities were coming in, and it
Mhm.
was getting hard to balance. And then the pandemic hit and they were like, well, we have to let you go. And I was like, oh,
Oh.
thank you.
Timing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, "Okay, see you later." Like, it all
Right.
worked
Yeah.
out. It was definitely timing, and I had just redone my website and, had pivoted the brand, and it was all kind of coming together, and I was ready for that wave to come.
Mm.
And I just was like, "Okay, this is a sign to just
Yep.
let it
Yep.
go and see what happens." And that's kind of where I kind of let go and took that leap to pursue it full time.
How long were you doing it where you were juggling it? Because for a lot of people that don't know,
So long.
I didn't even know that. I've been your friend for so long that I didn't know that that was that pivot point because like
Uh-huh.
JAM+RICO has existed and it's been a real business that you've been like doing at a high level. And a lot of people don't even realize that JAM+RICO is you. It's
Yes.
it's a person. You're a solopreneur. Like how long were you juggling both of those things?
I had my 9 to 5 for 4 years. I started in 2016. So I was doing 9 to 5 and then doing pop-ups on the weekend. Like some weekends I would do like two pop-ups. I would do
Mm,
Saturday and Sunday, like all day long. And I'm grateful for that learning period because helped me figure out like who my customer
Yeah.
was. People would come back and they would shop again the
yeah,
following weekend or say like I'm gonna come get a gift for somebody. So it definitely built up my customer base and helped me understand like who I'm selling to and shaped kind of the brand that I had created.
yeah.
But yes, it was for 4 years. I was like hustling hard on the weekends and during lunch
Well,
periods and
yeah,
after work.
yeah. As a solopreneur, what did that look like? So you're working your 9 to 5, then you came home and did what?
And I would come
As a
home.
jewelry maker now.
Yes, I would come home, I would probably, like, have to fill an order
Yeah.
or do some customer service of some sort, and update a website. So that's pretty much what I was working on, like,
Mhm.
on the weekdays, and then on the weekends, doing the pop-ups, designing new pieces, and some pieces I was still in the beginning, I was making by hand.
Mm.
So it would be like, "Okay, let me work on the
Mhm.
piece by hand and get that together." So it was definitely I don't know where the time
Yeah.
came, but it all worked out and I made it happen. But it was definitely a love, like you said, a passion. So it
Yeah.
wasn't like I was like, "Ugh, I have to go home and
Yeah,
do this order or fill this," or
because you were doing something you love to
yeah,
do.
it wasn't a difficult process. It was
Right.
more so like I'm excited to get home to work
Yeah,
on
let's get it.
this
Yeah.
process and get things going. So it kind of all evolved from that.
No, I love that. And so naturally, as you're going into this endeavor, there's experience that you're probably pulling from professional life. But what did you do for the unknown? Like when you were faced with challenges that you had no idea how to tackle, how did you kind of tap into yourself to figure out where to take it and how to solve them?
Yeah, I mean, that is I always think about, like you said, like growing up in Brooklyn, growing up in New York, like everything is here.
Yeah.
Like every answer, every question, everybody that you want to connect with, every opportunity, like people move here just to get that opportunity.
Mm,
So
Mhm.
when I would think about growing up in the city and I'm like I kind of felt like it was like endless opportunity. Like
mhm,
you just had to tap into it and find it and
mm,
figure out what it is that you want to do and put yourself in those places. Because if you grow up in Alabama or grow up in like middle America, you people are like trying to get here.
yeah.
And I was already here and already had that opportunity. So I kind of was like, why am I? There was a moment that I was like, wait, why am I not
Mhm.
moving like people that are, not from here
Mm,
moving? Like they are here, they're coming here and they have a vision and they have a
intentional.
goal.
Yeah.
And so there was a time where I was just like, I have to put myself out there
Mhm,
and get that opportunity to come to me. So that I feel like that's the only way you can pretty much move in the city. Like
mm,
it's here. You just
yeah.
have to find
Yeah,
it.
take
Got it.
advantage of that
Mhm.
Yeah.
opportunity.
Facts. Question for you. Like jewelry making, I'm not a jewelry maker by all
Yes,
means,
yes.
but like there's so many different brands out there. You know,
Mhm,
we're not far from Soho.
Mhm.
Soho, you could walk down the street and see so many designs that in many ways look like each other.
Yep.
And so for a brand like yours that you've been able to really brand not only yourself and Jam and Rico in the name, but some of your designs are very specific and unique to you. Where do you find inspiration to be able to do that? Because I feel like it's an evolving industry.
Yes, yes, it is. When I entered it, I definitely took that into consideration. A lot of jewelers were designing like very miniature designs and
Mm.
very minimalist pieces. And I had to figure out a way to set myself apart from those brands. And that's where I love our brand story and how we create pieces that are inspired by the Caribbean, because then people feel that connection. They're like, I had that same connection of when I visited, or a family connection, or um, just an experience of them wanting to go to those places and having that memory. So with like our best-selling bangles, our Kari bangles, like I designed these based on my grandma who used to stack jewelry and
Mm.
stack her bangles. And when she was cooking her rice and peas or like cooking a meal for our family, like all you would hear was her bangles jingling. And like that's the connection that I had to her and wanted
Yeah.
to continue that. And when I started selling the bangle, that's what people kept saying. They're like, oh my gosh, I remember when my auntie would wear those, when my
Yes.
grandma would wear them. My mom still has
My mom,
hers.
she's a jangling
Yeah, like
all the
that
time.
memory that you have, like, and that personal
Yeah.
connection, I love that about jewelry. Like
Yeah.
the thought of designing an engagement ring. Like I just designed my cousin's engagement ring and
Oh,
I'm
that's
about to make her
Wow.
beautiful.
bridal rings. Like she's gonna have that forever. And she
Yeah.
might even pass that down to her children. Like that generational connection and story, like that's the part that I love about designing jewelry. Like and you'll always it's clothing like it fades away and you might it
Mhm.
goes out of style or you might not want to wear that, but a jewelry piece you might have it for the next
Yeah.
generation, years to come. So that's the personal thought that I like behind my brand, that you have that connection to me, to the Caribbean, to that memory. So I love that about it.
That's amazing. And I think it's so dope that we were having a conversation before. So I definitely want to hear some more about it. But
Mhm.
like it is so intergenerational. And it's something that the same way that you were inspired by your grandparents and your mother
Yes.
with the type of designs that you do, but being able to now be a jewelry designer yourself, creating an engagement ring, like that's
Yes.
big.
It
Like
was
give
I
yourself
mean,
a moment. That's
I
big.
was just like blown away that she even would like trust me
Yeah. Yeah.
to do it for her. And that's kind of like the next step, the next level. Like when you think about jewelry, I'm creating fashion jewelry first.
Mhm.
But I just started doing fine jewelry, doing diamonds and figuring out, that part of the business, that side of the business to add custom to the website. So when people come, they can create something that's unique, like a wedding band or an engagement ring. But that side is like a completely new side for me that I haven't even,
That's next level.
next level. Like I'm just surface on it right now, but figuring out how to dive deeper into that. But yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to be able to offer that to my
Yeah.
clients, like,
Mhm.
on their next part of their journey in life with their partners, to be able to do that is exciting.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, I know in the retail space,
Mhm.
it could be very capital intensive,
Yes.
and then there's a lot of focus on retail and distribution. So as you were seeing your momentum going from 9 to 5 weekends, pop ups,
Mhm.
kind of what were you thinking about, and what were some of the steps you took to kind of give you the trajectory so that by 2020 you were ready to take those
Yes.
big steps?
Yes. I mean, when things come and fall into place, like
Yeah.
that's the part that I love about my journey as a designer. I feel like things happen and have come to me and everything's been flowing. So I feel like I know that I'm in the right space at the moment, which is great. But I feel like having that intention of working after that 9 to 5, like,
Yeah.
I didn't have 3 children.
Yeah.
I didn't have, like, a lot going on at the moment when I first started my brand. So having that time after work on the weekends where I was just focused, I might not have been going out as much as I would have liked
Right.
to or hanging out with my girlfriends as much, but I focused, and I feel like there is a time when you start your business, that it is hard to take a step back and say, I'm not going to go to that brunch or I'm not going to
Yeah.
go out and
Mhm.
party or do things that you enjoy doing as much because you are focused on creating this brand, on focused on creating something that you're passionate about for your future, and making those sacrifices to say, okay, I'm going to take X amount of hours to get it done. So when that time came in 2020 and all of the people were posting about the movement and
Yeah.
sharing our brand and, um, you know, on social media, at tagging us, adding us,
Mhm.
purchasing and like supporting on that level, people were looking on my website and they're like, "Oh, we didn't even know like you were here." Like I'm like, "Yep, I've been doing it. Hello.
Yeah.
Yep.
Hmm.
I'm
Yep.
here. Like check me out." So I always tell aspiring entrepreneurs, like, to be ready for that next step.
Mhm.
Like, my next step is find jewelry, like diamonds. Where am I going to find those diamonds if someone comes to me? Where am I going to find
Mhm.
that beautiful emerald that
Mhm.
somebody wants for their ring? Or,
Mhm.
like, be ready when that person comes so that you're prepared.
Yeah.
What if somebody needs like 10,000 pairs of something? Is your factory ready
Right.
Yeah.
for that order? Just have that plan so that when it comes to you, and it will, because you're setting that intention,
Mhm.
you're ready for it.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like in 2020 hit, a lot of brands, like, they got more eyes on them,
Yep.
but were they ready for that?
Mhm.
Mhm.
And I was ready. I said, "Okay, come with
Yeah,
it."
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Stay
yeah.
ready so you
Stay
don't gotta get
Yes,
ready.
yes.
Yeah.
I was like, "Come get it.
Yeah.
This jewelry's here for you." So it all worked out, and
That's
it
great.
really catapulted us to the next level.
Awesome. Awesome.
Now, speaking of the next level, she ain't tell y'all, but her brand was featured in Target.
Yes,
So tell us
yes.
more about that journey and how that even came to fruition.
Well, as like I said, all those eyes were happening. All those
Yep.
Mhm.
eyes were coming to our website, to our brand, to our social media. And I just got a cold email from someone from Target,
What?
and I
You thought
was
it was
like,
spam?
"Yes, I did. I did think it was spam." I was like, "Look." My husband was like, "Look, Scotty, like, what's this? What's this email?" I sent it to my mom.
Yeah.
I'm like, "Do you know this person?" She's like, Googling the person, like looking up LinkedIn. And it was a real email. And they were like, "We would like you to do a collaboration with Target for Black History Month." So I was like, "Okay, like, let me just email her back and see what it is." I think at the time I was 5 months pregnant.
Wow.
So I was
Wow.
like, "Okay, this is happening." I'm like exhausted, but I'm going to go with it, go with the flow,
Yeah.
and see what they're, asking. And we just took it from there. I was going on a inspiration trip to Puerto Rico, and I was like, "Okay, like, let's see what it could be," and
Yeah.
reviewed everything, and they wanted me to design a collection for them. And what was crazy was when they sent me their inspiration board and their mood board, like, my images were all over it. So
Wow.
they had already, like,
They did their
prepared,
homework.
they did their
Yeah.
homework, they knew what they wanted, and they definitely had their eyes on me to create something unique and beautiful for their Black History Month collection. So we did 4 pieces, and they launched the collection in January, and it sold out before Black
Uh-huh.
History Month. So it was,
Wow.
like,
Damn.
amazing
That's
Yeah.
to
how
see
you
that
know.
happen.
That's how
Yeah.
you know you are walking in purpose.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I was like, "Wait a minute." I couldn't even, like, get to the store, and do, like,
Pandemonium.
marketing or
Yeah.
anything. I was,
Yeah.
like, all prepared and ready to do
Wow.
this whole, like, marketing rollout, and then they were like, "Oh, it's sold out. It's gone. Like, we don't have it
Wow.
here." I was like, "Oh my goodness." So it was really exciting
That's dope.
to even see my face on, like, their marketing material in the
Yeah.
store, and to see the product and people enjoying it. So it was really
Did you
exciting.
know that that was your moment? Like, is that the level up moment where you're like, wow, I'm here?
Yeah, well, I was like, you know how, like, sometimes you get something and you're like, "I don't know about this." I don't know if it
Like,
really
hold
I didn't
on.
even, like, hype myself up
Uh,
before it, like,
Yeah.
launched. I was like, "Okay,
You were waiting for
Target."
it to fail.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, not to fail, but I was just like, "I'm gonna just keep it in my pocket and see
Mhm.
how it
Mm,
goes."
mhm.
Because
But
you
when
never know how
you
things
never
are gonna
know,
turn
you never
out.
know.
I
You're
understand.
just like,
Still, is
"Okay."
this really a Target
Yeah,
person?
yeah,
Like, for
yeah.
real,
Yeah.
I'm like, "Is my face really gonna be in that store?" So
for
it was really exciting when it all
real?
happened and rolled out, and,
Did you like have that moment where you like walked into the store and broke down and like
Well, my mom, she went first, because they had it in the Brooklyn store, and I was
I love
pregnant,
it.
so
Yeah.
I was, like, in, like, when it launched, I was, like, in baby land. I'm like, "Okay, I gotta get to the store, but there's a crying baby." So there was just so much going on at the
Yeah.
moment.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But yes, my mom, she went to the Brooklyn store, and she was
No.
just like, "Oh my gosh," like, walked in there and
My
saw
baby.
everything.
Yeah.
Yep. And then I was able to, like, go to some stores later on and just see everything and shop their other collections too. But it was a really special moment that I, of course, will never forget.
Love it.
So amazing. And it came full circle because you talked about all of the struggles that you put in to get there.
Yes.
And like that was that moment where you just knew that there was an energy that was attracting you to it and you just need to move in your purpose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just go for it. Like, be fearless. If you,
Hmm.
see how, look and observe everything and definitely review everything before you make that step. But
Yeah.
don't be afraid of it because I was like, "Oh, I'm about
Mhm.
to give birth. I'm about to have this baby,"
Yeah.
but I was like, "Let's do it." Like,
Hmm.
don't
Yeah.
push.
Yeah.
Don't say, "Let's do it next year," or "Let's,"
Yeah, the time is
figure out
now.
the time
Hmm.
is now and just get it
You
done.
touched on something I want to go deeper on though, because you were pregnant. So you were literally about to bring life. And women are amazing because y'all are able to not only juggle regular life, but
Yes.
also things on that level. But then black women specifically, it's no secret that black women juggle so many more things. How is it that you're able to show up in all aspects of life at a high level?
Yes, yes. I have been getting that question
Mhm.
a lot more since baby number 3 has come.
Congrats again.
But thank
Yeah.
you, little Carlo. He's 3 months. So I believe that, I mean, what really motivates me and drives me now are my kids and my family. Like
Mhm.
before, it was like, okay, let's just figure it out and like
Yeah.
set that path so I can have that financial
Mhm.
freedom and independence in my own brand. But now, my oldest, he's like, let me help hand out business cards at events, or like, can I help
Wow.
you with your business, or like make boxes for you? So having him see me
Yeah.
in my own space, creating, developing, working, like they're watching every day.
Yeah.
So having them have that, like I said, when I was growing up, having those relationships with female entrepreneurs and them seeing me and my space being an entrepreneur, like I feel like that vision is endless for them. They have
Yeah.
so much opportunity that they can take on. And, it makes me feel so happy that I'm able to, one, spend time with them and not have to be at that 9 to 5 and have more flexible schedule, but also show them that it's possible.
I
Yeah.
love it.
Well, that's huge. So what I'm most interested too is like, especially with 3 kids now, how
And
do
you
you
have 3
yeah,
too.
and I have 3 kids too, so I'm with you to a degree, but like, how do you balance like the time, right? Because
Yes.
you know, you have kids that are school age, right? You have
Mhm.
kids that are not yet school age. And I know what it's like
Yes.
with daycares now. They're closing, there's kids
Yeah.
are sick, and your days are never predictable.
No.
So how do you maybe even whether is it leaning on family for support? Is it being more structured about planning your day the day before? Kind of what are some of the tactics you use to create what semblance of balance you can?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Definitely planning the day
Mhm.
before, creating a list. I like to create a list at night to say,
Okay.
okay, what do I want to get accomplished? Even if I don't get all of those things accomplished, just having that thought in my mind when I wake up, okay, like bang, 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 like
Mhm.
that's what we're going to focus on and work on in the business has helped to kind of guide the day a little bit more. But I've also been able to, with the support of family and friends and my husband, been able to just have moments where I'm not so stressed. Like
Yeah.
if there is something like a day that I think is going to work out, like everyone goes to school and they're not sick. If there is a day when someone's
Mm.
sick and stays home, like I don't beat myself up anymore to
Yeah.
say like, okay, I have to get this done, or no, that day has changed. That day
Mhm.
Yeah.
is no
Giving
longer
yourself some
give,
grace.
yeah, like have that grace as a mom to say, okay, let's take a step back. Like, let's rework this
Mhm.
day. And maybe that thing on that list won't get done today, but it'll get done tomorrow with the help of family and
Yeah.
friends that can kind of step in. And what has been the hardest thing for me, which I'm working on it,
Mm.
is asking for help.
Yeah.
Mm.
I am definitely a type of worker that's just like zoned in. Don't ask me no
That's me
questions.
too.
Don't ask me
Yeah.
nothing. I'm gonna get it done. I'm working on this. And sometimes I feel like I look up and I'm like, wait, why didn't I ask someone to come over and help me with this project, or
Yeah.
help me watch one of the children,
Mhm.
or help me make some food or something? Like,
Yeah.
why don't I ask for that more? So I'm trying to work on that more. Just like
Mhm.
I have the people in my life to do it. I have, people that live nearby.
Got your
So
village. Yeah.
Yeah.
I have grandmas. So it's just more so me taking that step back to say, look, I need this help.
Yeah.
It's about to be XYZ needs to get done. I have a deadline. Um, And I think a lot of moms have a hard time doing that.
Yeah.
Even asking like nannies and
Yeah.
having sitters, like
Oh yeah.
I feel like moms have a hard time making that decision to leave their children. Okay,
Mhm.
you handle that nanny, like
Mhm.
you handle that caretaker, and let me go be great and do what I have to do. Like we can't do it all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No, I could imagine. It's a challenge. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And so you have your village outside, obviously your family, extended family, but it's still you and JAM+RICO.
Yes.
Have you ever given any thought to expanding, having a team, like being able
I
to,
mean, yes,
you
we
know?
want to get to that day
Mhm.
where we have that team and have that support. But as a solo entrepreneur, it has been difficult to
Yeah.
take that step to have that team build up. So I have factories that develop the collection, and I'm the designer. So I lean on that support and
Yeah.
freelancers to
Mhm.
help when things get a little bit more busy. But that is the dream to have my studio and my space. But right now, raising a family, it
Yeah.
has to be the focus at the
Mhm.
moment.
Yeah.
And once, they get of age and all are in school and all are busy, then I'll be able to make that step and make that transition. But family's first at the moment.
I love
Love
that.
that. I mean, you've been doing it at a high level for so long by yourself. I mean,
Yes.
shout out to you for that because,
Yeah.
as we all know the stats, we all entrepreneurs, most businesses don't even make it to the point that you're at,
Yeah.
Yes.
let
Mhm.
alone doing it by yourself. So, I mean,
Yeah, the
obviously,
support.
we're big fans of you, but
Thank
you should be
you.
proud of yourself because
Yes.
as entrepreneurs, we also have those moments of like imposter syndrome where you're like,
Yep.
can I
Yes.
really do this? Like, am
Yep.
I
Yes.
really
That is a
him? Am I
real
really her?
thing.
Like, talk
Mhm.
to us
Mhm.
about that. Like, have you had a lot of those moments?
Yes. I mean, like with the Target thing, I was
Yeah.
still like, I don't know. Is this happening? I've been awarded many grant opportunities and still I'm like, okay, like, should I be in this room? And
Mm.
I think
Yeah.
what has helped me, my husband and my dad are really great networkers. They're like
Mm.
really good at creating conversations. Like they are, when you enter the room, they're like, let's jump
Definitely,
in.
Yeah. Yeah.
definitely static.
Yes,
Definitely.
yes. So I've
Definitely.
learned from them
Mm.
how to not have the imposter syndrome. And it takes time.
Mhm.
Like in the
Yeah.
beginning, I could barely talk about my brand. I would just be like, here's my jewelry. Do you like it? So I think having that grace to learn
Yeah.
how to stand in your own self and your business and say like, yes, I'm a business
Mm.
owner. I've owned this business. I have the knowledge. I have that um I have that background, that
Yeah.
years of
Mhm.
experience. Yes, I worked in apparel, but I have those connections and that years of experience where I worked for someone to have that brand kind of evolve from that and
Mhm.
learning from how I can implement those things that I've learned in my career into my business. But yeah, the imposter syndrome is a real thing. And I feel like just recently I've been able to step in to my own space to say, like, look, I'm also a contender in this industry
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I'm here and how can we collaborate? But also like, look,
Yeah.
like give me my flowers
Yeah.
and I want to be in the room in the same level as you and I want to be have that respect and feel that respect.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I definitely have been pushing myself to um, set myself up for opportunities by
Yeah.
working with other jewelers and working with the jewelry industry in different ways. I told you guys I started a nonprofit called,
Yeah.
one of the co founders of Black and Jewelry Coalition.
Mhm.
Mm.
And that organization is a nonprofit that focuses on Black jewelers and industry professionals in the jewelry space. So, having those opportunities and connections through that organization
Yeah.
where we show up and show that there are jewelers of color,
Mhm.
there are people of color that work in the industry where it is predominantly white, has also provided opportunities for the brand and put us in rooms where we're seen and heard and
Yeah.
celebrated.
Yeah, I love that. I love that because I think for one, I credit to you for just being the self awareness and the working at things that you have opportunities to grow. And I do think when I think back to your story, those first years were super critical. I can imagine
Yes.
for you
Hmm.
when you were out in front of it. And I think you
Yeah,
talked
when
about
people, like,
yeah.
wouldn't even put my brand in their store, like,
Hmm.
having, like, "Oh, well, I don't know where you've been seen," or like, "I don't know where else you've sold jewelry."
Yeah.
Having that trust. I mean, I went to so many stores in the beginning,
Yeah.
and a lot of them said no,
Mhm.
and a lot of them were like, like, "Get back to me," like, "I
Yeah.
don't know." But then I would have my jewelry in another store, and they would sell out, like,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
but they don't have those stats or they can't see that. So they're like, "Well, I don't know. I don't know
Right.
you."
Yeah.
And so now having the opportunity to like be in Vogue, be in Essence,
Yeah.
like having that backing, be in Target for them to
Mhm.
say, "Oh, okay, like
Yeah.
she's doing something over here." It takes time, but having that as, a background, like that
Yeah.
they can fall back on the brands that we're working with and having new opportunities with, they're saying, okay, like that's where you've been and that's where you can
Yeah.
go. So,
Consistency.
yes,
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's key.
Consistency.
consistency. Yep, earlier you said that, people were coming to you. So that's just a testament to like why you should be so consistent in your business,
Yeah.
because you never know who's watching. You
Yeah,
never
you never
know
know.
who's looking to collaborate. So it's
Mhm.
just crazy that, even though people were saying no, you were continuing to keep going
Yes,
and
yes.
people were coming to you for opportunities.
Yes, I think that is key as an entrepreneur. Like, just keep going, stay on your path. Like,
Mhm.
if that's what your focus is, keep trying.
Yeah.
And sometimes it might not work. There might be times where you're like, okay, maybe this isn't for me, or you might have to pivot
Mm.
and try
Mhm.
something new. You might not have that passion, but I feel like if you put your mind to it and you set those intentions, it'll
Yeah.
work out.
What do you think is the biggest lesson that you've learned?
Lesson. Um, the biggest lesson that I feel like recently I've thought about this is that, like you said, a lot of people design jewelry. A lot of people
Mm.
have businesses in the jewelry industry, in the fashion industry. And what sets them apart? Um, I really feel like personality has gotten
Mm.
me in those rooms. I'm definitely an extrovert and I love being in your face, like
Mhm.
let it happen. So I think that has really helped. But then you have to also think if you're not an extrovert, like how
Yeah.
can you push your brand forward? And I met someone recently who I thought was an extrovert. And she was like, "No, girl, I'm a little shy." And I was like, "Well, how have you you know, she has herself set at a very high standard. Like
Mm.
her career is like I want to be her when I grow up."
Yeah.
And I was like, "How do you do it?" Like I have this opportunity in front of me. I'm like in the room and I'm vocal about it. And she was like, "No, I'm pretty shy." So when she finishes an event or she comes home, she writes this beautiful follow up, like a thank you note,
Mm.
a
Mm.
connection, and has that after connection, which I was like, that's a great idea too. Like,
Yeah.
if you're not the extrovert person or you're not someone that's out there and someone, you don't have that as a backup for your brand, you can also go back home and type up something to
Yeah.
say thank you, connect on
Mm.
social media, connect on LinkedIn, and, keep that connection going. That could also pivot your business as well.
That's a good one. That's a good one because I think follow up is the one thing
Yeah.
that, like,
Yeah.
as entrepreneurs, there's so much going on.
Yes.
Mhm.
There's so many things. There's so many hours in a day that you got to think about all the small details. Where following up, like you said, you don't realize how important it is, and not just
Mhm.
following up to just say like thanks. Like thoughtful follow up
Mhm.
can
Yeah.
open another door where you just don't know where that door will lead you. But being
Exactly.
able to spend that time to be able to actually really just keep that connection going and
Yes.
cultivating that relationship, because especially when you're doing it on your own, you
You
don't have that
need it.
accountability partner to be like, hey, like
No.
Dottie's really good at being able to be organized.
Mm.
Sabo's
Yeah.
really good at being able to like make sure the creative aspects are done.
Mhm.
But being able to have someone to lean on to make sure that you hold yourself accountable, being able to do that for yourself
Yes.
and know that like it could either be the difference between me getting from here to there or not.
Yep.
Yeah.
You definitely need to do that. Networking, keeping people, being nice to everyone, making sure, any connection that you make, maybe you might not follow up, but having that person know, like, I'm here for you. We can collaborate if you have any questions. Like, definitely being an open book for someone that you connect with is always like telling of how you're going to push that relationship forward.
That's that
Yeah.
authenticity we were talking about yesterday.
Mhm.
Just bringing your authentic self to every situation
Yeah.
and every room you enter. It will
Exactly.
take you further.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
definitely will. Definitely will.
Okay. So what's next for you, Lisette? Like, I feel like your
Ah.
future is so bright.
Ooh.
What's next? And before you answer that in terms of literally what's next, where do you see yourself taking it that this next step is going to get you there?
Well, I mean, there's so as you know, as an entrepreneur, like you get so many ideas. Like my
Yeah.
head is like always spinning, like, okay, what are we gonna do? Like, I do have this idea that we might be doing soon. I'll definitely share with you all, but of having us cooking together and making
Mm,
Caribbean food.
Mhm.
I might be partnering with a chef and having cooking
that's
classes.
Oh, I
dope.
love
So
that.
my dream is definitely for the brand to not only have the
Mhm.
jewelry connection, but to have the cultural connection
Yeah.
of the
Love that.
islands. A lot of people can't go back or have family that are there or can only visit, every other year.
Mhm.
So I do want to bring that experience to my customers.
Mhm.
It might be in New York, but hopefully it can be other places as well. But having that cultural connection is very important to me to
Yeah.
celebrate where many of us have come from, our ancestors. So that's one that I
Love
want to
that.
kind of push forward. I do dream one day of having like an Airbnb or a place where people can visit and go to on the islands. So that's
I
two.
love that.
And
Jam and Rico
three,
experiences.
yeah,
You
like,
Yeah.
okay?
go to
Yeah.
my house. Go to my house.
I
So
love that.
that is something I do want to have one day. And three will definitely be like my studio space. If that is a studio or a storefront or like a community space. Still kind of figuring out what is best, but I would love for the people of the community of the
Mhm.
Caribbean to come, have a place to celebrate, but also buy jewelry and cool
Yeah.
things from the islands. So that is kind of like my three things that I'm kind of pushing towards to get
Mhm.
to my three goals right
I
now.
love that.
Love that.
Yeah, I love
Awesome.
that. Before we get to our culture questions, because I know that's coming up, I
Mhm.
want to go back to your Caribbean dishes and your island
Oh,
dishes. Now,
yes.
what's your favorite one? 'Cause what's your specialty? I
Ooh.
need the Lisette special.
Mhm.
Well, I love plantains.
Oh,
I
yes.
love like frying up plantains. So anything like there's people are getting really creative with plantains today. I saw like plantain waffles
I
the
Yeah.
other
did see
day.
that.
I saw like you can make like this boats and like
Okay.
fill it with meat with plantains. So I've been experimenting
Okay, okay.
with plantains, but my go-to would be like curry chicken,
Mm.
jerk chicken, rice and peas. Like that is my go-to.
Yes.
I would definitely say I lean on my Jamaican side. But I do love some arroz con pollo, con
Mhm.
dules. Like
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
do love my Puerto Rican side too. So I guess I'm like love rice too.
Okay, okay.
I love rice.
Common.
I love
Yeah.
plantains. So yeah, that is definitely the flavors are in the house. We're definitely cooking it up.
Living Jam and Rico,
Yes,
literally.
Yeah.
literally. Like
Yeah.
that is it.
Dope, dope.
All
Okay.
right. So we gonna get to our culture questions?
Mhm.
Let's do it.
All
Yes.
right. Now, usually, y'all know we have our little jar, but today we're
Uh-huh.
working with this little cute situation here. So we're gonna have you pick from a culture
Okay,
question,
okay.
totally random. We're gonna see what you get.
S- See if get the hand in there.
I know.
Oh, she did it.
Okay. All right. It says, what ancestor do you want to be remembered as?
Okay.
So I was thinking about this one and I was like, okay, if I were to be remembered, like I feel like I'm gonna have a lot of grandchildren.
Well, I like
That's
how Donnie put it earlier. He
Yeah.
was like, Auntie Lisette is this, or Auntie
Yeah.
Lisette was
Yes.
this.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely want to be remembered as someone who tried and was fearless.
Mm,
I feel like
Mhm.
often we are very fearful of making those steps in the direction of our dreams. And we push even my nieces, like we push them to do something that maybe they don't want to do, or maybe they don't want to, go to college or be on that path or, have that experience. And we have to remember that we're all individuals. We're all
Yeah.
different. our journeys are all different. And my journey is completely different from what any of my family members have done. I am first generation entrepreneur, so having that be a beacon of like, oh, she did it.
Yeah.
I hope that someone along my ancestral path will follow that dream as well and make their dreams come true by following their own path as an entrepreneur if that is what they want to do.
Love
It's
it.
amazing. You're
So,
building a legacy. I
ah.
mean, we talked about that. Like that word legacy in the Black community
Yes.
is such a interesting topic. But like you are literally creating a legacy that like, Layla and your family can then one day know that this was started by Grandma Lisette or Auntie Lisette.
Yes.
Yeah.
I really, really am like honored to have that opportunity as an entrepreneur to say like, okay, I can pass this down to my family, the knowledge that I have, even if it's not in the jewelry industry, but maybe it's in um, entrepreneurship in
Yeah.
any shape or form. Like you can put this knowledge into opening your own bakery, or you
Yeah.
can put this knowledge in opening your own law firm. Like whatever your dream is, like it is possible to have it on your terms. It's work, but it could be something that could happen for my children, which I hope they can create that generational wealth and continue to build in their own light.
I love that.
I love that. I
Mm.
love that. Lisette, it's always a good time catching up with
Yeah.
you. I mean, you're really an inspiration, definitely for us.
For
Thank you
sure.
It's a
guys
pleasure
so,
to be
so
your friend.
much.
Pleasure that you even took the time to be able to make this happen.
Of course.
For those of you at home, JAM+RICO, it's
Yeah.
already in the big places that you know, like Target, but she's taking it way further. Can't wait to see the next place she takes it. But if you're looking for where to find the finest in jewelry, definitely make sure you check out Lisette and JAM+RICO. And thank you for tuning into another episode.
Thank you. Thank you
Thank
for
you,
having
Thank you.
me. I
Thank
Yes.
you.
appreciate it.
Yes.